My House of Horrors Chapter 801 to 810. The change inside the art room forced the shadow that was hiding there out. With yin-yang vision, Chen Ge's eyesight was very good. With one glance, he noticed that the shadow was similar to the human-shaped stain on room 413's wall. Finally, I found you. The nails kept piercing into Chen Ge's body. The pain was secondary. The feeling of his life slipping away was what he hated the most. The shadow had the upper hand, but Chen Ge was closer to the door, so he reached it before the shadow did. Chen Ge knew that the shadow was not real, so he would not be able to stop him. Therefore, he decisively closed the door that had started to bleed. When the whole art room changed and everything was about to be swallowed by blood, Chen Ge chose to perish together with his enemy. Since you want me to be your scapegoat, I'll drag you down to hell with me. We'll hold hands on the road to hell. And in our next life, I'll still want to be your best friend. Chen Ge's crazy and shameless method surprised the shadow. The shadow paused for a moment before reaching out to grab the doorknob. Trying to run, Chen Ge blocked the door, and the nail in his hand stabbed at the shadow's neck. He used his finger to block the nail, and only when it was about to touch the shadow did he reveal the nail. Initially, the shadow seemed to think that Chen Ge would not be able to harm him, so he did not put up any defense until the nail stabbed into his neck. After going through so many trial missions, Chen Ge had already been tempered into a ruthless person. Rationality and madness, these two completely opposite personalities, were perfectly mixed together in him. Chen Ge knew that he might only have one chance, so he chose the spot that he thought was the most fatal. The nail stabbed into the shadow's neck, and the inertia knocked his head sideways. If it was a living person, they would be heavily injured even if they did not die. I was kind enough to help you, but you used me as a scapegoat. We'll have to settle this debt. The pain and curse that he had suffered were all due to the shadow in room 413, so Chen Ge did not intend to hold back at all. Seeing that the nail was effective on the figure, Chen Ge did not give the figure a chance to react. He took out another nail from his pocket and stabbed it into the figure's eye. The figure's head tilted on his shoulder. After suffering a loss, he no longer dared to underestimate Chen Ge. He took a few steps back and maintained a 2-meter distance from Chen Ge. More and more blood seeped out of the room, and the art room was slowly changing shape. It was as if the blood world and the normal world were squeezing and seeping into each other. It was very dangerous to stay in the studio, but Chen Ge blocked the door and refused to leave. Since you won't let me live, I'll make sure you won't be able to leave. Chen Ge had a smile on his face. He knew that the shadow had the urge to strangle him, but there was a process for the ghost to die as a scapegoat. In other words, if the shadow wanted Chen Ge to be his scapegoat, he had to make sure that Chen Ge died the same way he did. This was similar to how a water ghost dragged a person into the water to drown and a hangman lured people to hang themselves. Of course, that was just Chen Ge's own opinion. If the scapegoat behind the door was different from the one outside the door, there was nothing he could do. In any case, he could not turn back now, he could only take the risk. The art room was slowly dyed in blood. Chen Ge and the shadow stood at the door, neither of them moving. This was a rare scene. Normally, after a ghost found a scapegoat, they would immediately reincarnate or take over the body of a living person and go to another city. Specters below the red specter could not leave their possession for long, and the scapegoat could only be trapped near the scene of death. They could not chase after the ghost. Therefore, this kind of situation where the ghost found a scapegoat but was blocked by the scapegoat was very rare. Aren't you going to say something? When he saw the shadow, Chen Ge's heart that had been hanging in the air returned to his stomach. The curse on him could take his life at any moment, so he had to remove it. However, he was not sure of the shadow's exact location. He had come to the art room to try his luck, but he did not expect the shadow to really be hiding there. The shadow did not seem to be able to speak. He kept waving his hands like he was gesturing something. Chen Ge could see that the shadow was agitated, and he could even sense a trace of fear from the shadow. If he continued to stay in the painting room, something terrible would definitely happen. Chen Ge did not want to die. He had pretended to die with the shadow to show his attitude. Now that the shadow was scared, Chen Ge's tone softened. Remove the curse on me, and we will be even. I can even help you find the next scapegoat. Chen Ge gave his condition. Live together or die together, the choice is yours. He believed that the shadow would not reject him. After all, it was not harmful to either of them, but several seconds later, the shadow's reaction made Chen Ge frown. The shadow shook his head, waved his hands, and then used his finger to draw a few words in the air. Only then did Chen Ge understand what the shadow meant. Once the death scapegoat was activated, it could not be removed unless the death scapegoat was completed. Chen Ge did not know whether the shadow was lying to him or not, but before he achieved his goal, he would not open the door to let the shadow leave. I can't remove it. Then can you slow down the time of death scapegoat? Like give me a few weeks or a few months to recover. After Chen Ge said that, the shadow thought about it and started to shake his head again. I can't do this, and I can't do that. Do you think I have a good temper? Or do you think I don't have the courage to die together with you? Chen Ge did not think that as a scapegoat, there was anything wrong with using such a tone. I advise you to think about it. This school is only so big. After you set me up in room 413, you did not leave immediately. This proves that you do not know the real way to escape this place. Even if I really become your scapegoat, I will find a way to find you in the future. No matter how these nails landed on me, I will return them to your body one by one. After a pause, Chen Ge added, I am not threatening you. I am just telling you the truth. Now, we need to work together to achieve a win-win situation. It was unclear whether it was Chen Ge's words that moved the shadow or it was because the art room was about to be swallowed by blood. The shadow finally changed his mind. He signaled for Chen Ge to reach out his hand. I am warning you, don't play any tricks, or else even if I die, I will not let you go, Chen Ge said coldly. The shadow's head hung from his shoulder, and there was a nail stuck in the middle of his neck. He looked very pitiful. He had no idea whether he had found a scapegoat or a dogskin plaster that he could not shake off. With some helplessness, the shadow grabbed Chen Ge's hand. His finger tapped lightly, and the palm print that was slowly turning black on Chen Ge's palm seemed to be affected by something, and the color stopped darkening. The palm lines stopped turning black, and the anxiety that had been haunting Chen Ge's heart slowly dissipated. He felt like his breathing had become smoother. The shadow did not lie to him. At the moment of life and death, he had made the right decision. After the palm lines on Chen Ge's palm stopped turning black, the shadow's body started to fade. Earlier, he was about to materialize. I still can't trust you. Even with all the benefits, Chen Ge did not plan to let the shadow go. There was only one chance, and he had to make good use of it. When the weakened shadow heard Chen Ge's words, he jumped up in panic. He tried to fight for the door handle again, and the result was another nail sticking out of his neck. It was too cruel. The shadow's facial features were blurry, and no one could see his expression clearly. After being tricked twice, he did not dare get close to Chen Ge anymore. As a primordial ghost, the shadow did not dare to imagine that he would be forced to this extent by a scapegoat. The blood was about to consume the art room. Everything here would be buried by the blood. The shadow waved his hands. If he did not leave now, his soul would really dissipate. You're a cunning, cruel, and scary ghost, and I'm just a normal person. There's a huge difference in our power, so how am I supposed to trust you? I don't understand the process of scapegoating, and I don't know the deeper meaning behind the palm lines turning black. Even if you've done something to me, I won't be able to tell. Chen Ge could sense the change that was happening inside the art room. The strange paintings were dyed red, and the upside-down paintings were slowly returning to normal. The color of blood covered everything, and the two inside the room appeared to be slowly dragged into the deep sea by a force that they could not escape from. The shadow was unable to speak. He jumped where he was and waved his hands wildly. You're trying to say that you're not lying to me? Chen Ge also knew that he could not stay there for long. He stuck his body to the door and stood at the spot closest to the exit. He could rush out at any moment. Fine, I'll trust you this once, but I hope to see your sincerity. The black shadow instantly understood what Chen Ge meant. He found it hard to believe that he would be blackmailed by someone who had kicked him to death. You used to stay in room 413, so you should know a lot about Lin Cece. I need you to tell me everything you know. Do not hide anything. Chen Ge spoke quickly. The shadow nodded madly when he heard that. He wanted to move forward, but Chen Ge pulled out another nail from his pocket. Secondly, you live in the same dormitory as Lin Cece. Do you know the password for his phone? Lin Cece's cell phone was the most important item that Chen Ge had obtained. Unfortunately, he did not have the password, so he could not use this important item. The shadow paused for a moment. Just as he was about to express his thoughts, Chen Ge said again, "Don't even think about lying. I have his phone." Chen Ge took out his phone from his pocket and swiped the screen. "Tell me." Seeing the phone, the shadow's reaction was strange. He took half a step back subconsciously and then started to sign a few numbers for Chen Ge. 51,413. Chen Ge felt that the number was quite familiar. Whenever the shadow signed a number, he would enter it. After entering all 5 numbers, the phone was unlocked. This is an important reward. Memorizing the password, Chen Ge gripped the door handle and left the art room as soon as he could. He was a very kind person. After he left the art room, he did not close the door to stop the shadow from leaving. After the shadow ran out from the door, Chen Ge closed the door again. Blood flowed everywhere inside the door, drowning everything, but outside the door, everything was normal, unaffected. Chen Ge suspected that this had something to do with the paintings. Who is the painter of those paintings? There are 13 easels, so there should be 13 painters, but their painting style and theme are so similar. Could it be that their teacher is the same person? With one problem solved, many new questions rushed into his mind. Chen Ge stopped where he was. He was frowning in thought when he felt a chill run down his back. Turning back to look, the shadow was expanding. His facial features started to change, his body started to twist, and his 10 fingers became like the claws of an animal. After being angered so much inside the room, the shadow was filled with anger. "If you kill me, who will be your scapegoat?" Chen Ge opened his arms, and his expression was even calmer than before. "If I'm not mistaken, everyone at this school is looking for a scapegoat, and there are very few suitable candidates." Voluntarily taking a step forward, Chen Ge lifted his head to look at the scary shadow. "After you successfully captured me to be your scapegoat, you immediately went into hiding. Looks like you're afraid yourself. You're afraid that after you've succeeded, you'll be targeted by other people. Am I right?" The dark claws dangled by Chen Ge's neck. The shadow's heart was filled with resentment, like he was still holding a grudge against Chen Ge for using the nails to stab his neck earlier. "I'm your scapegoat, and you're my ghost. This is the deepest bond between us, and no one can replace it." Chen Ge's expression gave off a very warm feeling. He reached out to hold the shadow's hand, but his hand passed through the shadow. "We're not only not enemies, we're allies. Think about it. You can't kill me because no one will be your scapegoat, and I'm just a normal person. I won't be able to survive at this school, and I might be ambushed at any moment. The only person I can rely on and trust is you because I know you won't be able to kill me." The claws stopped by Chen Ge's neck. The shadow thought about it. Chen Ge's words did make sense, but the harmony between the scapegoat and the ghost still gave him a strange feeling. This school is full of schemes and murderous intent. Everyone has ulterior motives. Cooperation and trust are practically impossible, but the two of us have broken this curse. We're the most suitable allies. Chen Ge walked toward the shadow. "Even if the scapegoat is completed, you won't be able to leave this school. How about the two of us work together to find a way out?" Looking at Chen Ge, who was standing before him, the shadow was not just shocked. He had never been in a situation like this before. "I'm in the light, and you're in the dark. If we work together, we'll definitely surprise many people." Chen Ge was accomplishing something that was almost impossible. At least at this school, no one had done it before. The shadow's body returned to normal. He hesitated for a long time before using his hands to form a few words. "You want to know why I'm not afraid of you?" Chen Ge shook his head. "It's not that I'm not afraid of you. In fact, I'm scared to death. I'm just pretending. Alright, let's not talk about that anymore. What else do you know about Lin Cece?" The shadow stayed in the same dormitory as Lin Cece, and he even knew the password to Lin Cece's phone. The relationship between the two was definitely not normal. I want to know about Lin Cece. This is related to whether we can leave the school safely or not. Chen Ge asked again, but the shadow did not answer. It was as if the name Lin Cece was a taboo at the school, and talking about it would cause trouble. Shaking his head lightly, the shadow pointed at Chen Ge and then at the top of his head and his feet. It was hard to tell what he was trying to say. You're trying to say that the content of our conversation will be overheard by other things? Chen Ge tried to interpret the shadow's action. The shadow shook his head again and used his hands to gesture the words. We killed Lin Cece, so all of us are Lin Cece. All of us are Lin Cece? Chen Ge seemed to understand something. He was about to ask the next question when a faded stench drifted past his nose. Something's coming. The shadow's reaction was faster than Chen Ge. He opened the door across from the art room and crawled in. After entering the room, the shadow did not close the door. Chen Ge understood what he meant and followed him into the room. At least he knows to leave a door open for me. Looks like he's willing to cooperate with me. Everything that Chen Ge said earlier was true, or at least that was how he saw it. While the ghosts needed a scapegoat, they had to be wary of other ghosts, and if the scapegoat wanted to stay alive, they had to choose the most reliable one among the many ghosts. Whether he lived or died was a matter for the future. Now, the most important thing for Chen Ge to consider was how to survive this night. He would make use of everything that he could to find a way to survive. What are those things that are giving off this stench? Chen Ge moved away from the door and stood behind the shadow. By then, the shadow had returned to normal. He looked thin and weak, about a head shorter than Chen Ge. Chen Ge hid behind him, and there was a strange feeling that he could not describe. The change in the art room has probably alerted the workers in the lab. I saw a duty room on the second floor. The red specter inside it might come after us because of the destruction of the art room. Chen Ge analyzed the situation calmly, and the shadow agreed with what Chen Ge said. However, he was curious, how did Chen Ge know there was a red specter in the guardroom? It's no longer safe here. Let's leave the laboratory building and find another place to discuss our next step. Chen Ge's purpose of entering the laboratory building had been achieved. He didn't want to stay a moment longer in this dangerous building. Walking to the window, Chen Ge pulled back the curtain. He first looked outside. It's a bit dangerous to climb down the outer wall. Taking the elevator at this time would be courting death. The window was the only way out. After confirming that Mr. Bai was not outside, Chen Ge jumped out of the window and carefully grabbed the edge of the windowsill. The cold wind ruffled his hair, and Chen Ge's back was soaked with sweat. I hope this is just a nightmare. If that's the case, as long as I jump down, I'll definitely wake up. Aiming at the external air conditioner on the third floor, Chen Ge slowly adjusted his position. If I don't jump accurately, everything will be over. It all depends on this one chance. Chen Ge took a deep breath, but just as he was about to let go, the shadow appeared at the window. He stood beside the window and looked at Chen Ge, who was hanging outside the building. At this moment, if he pried open Chen Ge's fingers, he could easily kill Chen Ge. Follow me, we'll leave together. There was only trust and concern in Chen Ge's voice. This made the shadow feel uncomfortable, but in the end, he did not make a move on Chen Ge. Quick! Hanging in midair was exhausting. After Chen Ge confirmed the location, he let go without hesitation. Bang! His feet landed firmly on the external air conditioner. Chen Ge leaned forward and stuck close to the wall. The sound is too loud. The monster and Mr. Bai inside the building will definitely hear me. I can't hesitate. He lifted his head to look at the window on the fourth floor. The shadow was still standing next to the window, and he appeared to have his own plan. Do you still wish to continue hiding? This school is a cage. No matter where you hide, you will always be a prisoner. Cooperating with me is your only chance. We'll escape together. After stopping for less than a second, Chen Ge jumped back to the external air conditioner on the second floor. When he lifted his head again, the shadow was still standing on the fourth floor. Chen Ge had obtained enough information from the shadow. Actually, the shadow was not that useful anymore, but Chen Ge still hoped that the shadow would leave with him. He needed a helper, and he needed a native from the school to help him get into the trap. To change his current situation, he needed enough power, and this shadow was Chen Ge's hope. I don't know the rules at the school, but I do know that after consuming enough baleful specters, even a normal specter can become a red specter. Standing on top of the air conditioner on the second floor, Chen Ge stopped worrying and yelled directly, "If I'm captured by someone else and become their scapegoat, you might still be pinned to the wall in the future." Since his own benefit was at stake, the shadow finally wavered. He stood on the windowsill and collapsed. Chen Ge saw a shadow flash across the wall before falling into his own shadow. "Are you alright?" There was no reaction from the shadow. Chen Ge's eyes were complicated, but he soon recovered. He jumped down to the first floor and ran toward the bushes. Every building at the school has baleful specters and monsters. It's very dangerous to enter one of them. Chen Ge crawled inside the bushes and did not dare to move. 10 seconds later, Mr. Bai ran out from the other side of the lab building and stopped not far away from Chen Ge. He lifted his head to look at the window that was completely open on the 4th floor. His expression was scary, and he kept mumbling the term, "bad boy." Mr. Bai seemed to be very afraid of this lab building. He did not dare enter it. He only wandered around the building before running away in a hurry. Chen Ge, who was hiding inside the bushes, saw everything. He waited until he could no longer hear Mr. Bai's footsteps before he stood up. His eyes swept the lab building, and Chen Ge shivered. In the room that he had jumped out from earlier, there was a person in a red coat standing at the window, staring at him. "The red specter from the duty room has been following me, but he does not appear to be able to leave the lab building." Chen Ge's heart chilled from the red specter's gaze. He silently retreated. Where should I go next? Chen Ge needed to find a safe place to check on Lin Cici's phone, organize the known clues, and confirm the next step of his plan. Someone tapped his shoulder, and the thin shadow appeared behind Chen Ge. He pointed at the eastern side of the school and gestured the word, "wall." Welcome to Fanfic Audiobook, your go-to place for immersive audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. A wall? Why are we going there? The shadow had many chances to kill Chen Ge, but he did not do so. There was a basic level of trust between the two. The shadow did not answer Chen Ge's question. He seemed to be hesitating whether he should lead Chen Ge or not. The place he was going to next appeared to be a hiding place that he had specially prepared for himself. If you think it's not convenient for you to answer, you are free to refuse. We are partners and friends. There is no need to worry too much. Chen Ge's expression was relaxed, and he said naturally. The shadow stood alone before Chen Ge. He was not tall, and he was on the thin side. He looked weak and fragile. Ever since he entered this school, this was the first time someone had said something like that to the shadow. He stood facing Chen Ge, and he did not try to hide himself at all. Introverted, weak, self-abased, and closed off, the shadow was different from other children his age. There was no vitality about him. It appeared like many unhappy things had happened to him before he entered this school. Chen Ge's words made the shadow remember some things. Most of the memories in his mind were gray. Every time he tried to remember them, it felt like his head was being pressed into muddy water. Sand and sand rushed into his nose and ears. It was not painful, but it felt stuffy. What are you spacing out for? Let's go. Something bad will happen if we stay at the same place for too long. Chen Ge patted the shadow's shoulder lightly. His finger passed through the shadow's body and landed on his chest. But Chen Ge did not mind it at all. It was as if he had gotten used to this. Chen Ge strode forward with his back exposed to the shadow's eyes. He was not on guard at all. Staring at Chen Ge's back, the shadow still could not believe that one day, a scapegoat and an original ghost would work together. Where is this wall that you mentioned? Chen Ge followed the direction that the shadow pointed at for 10 minutes, but he still could not see the edge of the school. This school was ridiculously big. The shadow kept urging Chen Ge to move faster. The man and ghost walked through the forest for another 5 minutes, and to Chen Ge's surprise, he seemed to have returned to where he started. Ghost wall? How come the surrounding forest has become so much denser? The whole forest seems to be connected? Chen Ge was now in the eastern campus. and he could see the tall buildings in the western campus. He and the shadow walked toward the western campus for a long time, but the buildings still looked blurry like they were hidden in the fog.
Are you sure you didn't give me the wrong direction?
The black shadow also felt that something was wrong. He stood sideways behind a tree, his thin body swaying with the night wind as if he could be blown away at any moment.
Brother, are you all right?
The black shadow seemed to be sensing something. When he retracted his palm, he signaled for Chen Ge to step back and stop moving forward.
There are ghosts around.
Was it very strong? How does it compare to you? Chen Ge asked a few questions in a row. But the black figure did not answer any of them. He moved his body backwards, and as he did so, he made sure that Chen Ge was within 2 meters of him.
Looks like there is indeed something in the forest. Chen Ge wiped away the sweat on his forehead. Even the bushes by the road were not safe. He had a new understanding of this school. Hopefully, it's not a red specter or a half-red specter.
As Chen Ge and the black shadow slowly retreated, a voice came from the darkness deep inside the forest. "Help me." It was a girl's voice, and it sounded like she was in her teens.
Someone is calling for help. Do you think that voice is familiar? Do you know her? Chen Ge sidled up to the black shadow. At a time like this, it was better not to wander too far away alone. The black shadow nodded lightly and then pointed at Chen Ge's ears like he was telling Chen Ge to cover his ears and not listen to the girl's voice. Help me, please." Even with his ears covered, the girl's voice still echoed in his mind, and the voice became clearer like she was slowly crawling toward him. She looks like she's in a lot of pain. Should we go and help her? Chen Ge took out a sharp nail from his pocket and hid it in his palm. The black shadow did not understand what Chen Ge meant. Why did he take out the nail when he said that he would help the girl?
He shook his head innocently and gestured, "Danger, run." "Is she wearing a bloody shirt or a normal shirt?" Chen Ge asked as he retreated. The black shadow did not understand what Chen Ge was trying to do, so he gestured honestly, "Normal shirt."
If it's not a red specter, then I think we should go and help her. Chen Ge stopped moving and counted the nails in his pocket. A girl asking for help from a stranger in the middle of nowhere, she must be in big trouble. How can we just ignore her?
"Save me, don't go. Please, save me." The girl's voice sounded weak and pitiful, but it became clearer. Chen Ge and the black shadow were not moving slowly, but the fact that the other party could still chase after them proved that something was wrong.
Did you hear that? This girl looks so pitiful. If we can help her, we should. Carrying the backpack, Chen Ge hid a nail in each of his hands.
The black shadow saw that Chen Ge was going to help the girl, and he panicked. He gestured with his hands and kept repeating the word, "Danger." "I know it's dangerous, but some risks are worth taking." Chen Ge did not run but looked deeper into the forest. He shouted, "Where are you? If you're injured, stay where you are and don't move. I'll be there in a minute." The black shadow saw that Chen Ge had answered the girl's plea for help, and his body started to fade like he was afraid and anxious. He wanted to leave alone, but he was hesitant about something. In the end, he crawled into Chen Ge's shadow.
There are some things that cannot be avoided. Even if there is only a 1 in 1,000 chance that this girl is really injured, I should investigate the situation because I am the only person she can rely on now. Many tragedies can be avoided. Chen Ge's voice was loud enough for people several meters away to hear him.
Chen Ge stopped where he was. Several seconds later, a pale arm reached out from the bush. "Save me, please don't go. Help me. What happened to you? How can I help you?" Chen Ge asked softly. "Yuan Ming has lost his mind. He has really lost his mind. I wanted to break up with him, but he threatened to kill himself. Then he invited me to this small forest, saying that he wanted to have one last chat with me. We got into an argument, and now he wants to kill me. He's coming. Save me, please." The girl's voice was urgent. Due to the loss of blood, her voice sounded very weak, like she had difficulty breathing. "There's another one." Chen Ge stood where he was. "Then I'll call the police first, and then I'll take you to the school's teacher, okay?" "Okay, thank you. I can't move anymore. Can you come and pull me up?" the girl begged with a sobbing tone.
"Okay." Chen Ge hid the nail in his palm and slowly approached the pale arm.
As he reached out, The arm suddenly reached out to grab Chen Ge's palm.
It was a severed arm. There was only this arm in the bush.
Help me, hurry and dig me out from the ground. The girl's voice suddenly turned shrill. The broken hand that was hidden in the bush reached toward Chen Ge like a viper that had spotted its prey.
Don't be nervous. Chen Ge gripped his fist, and the nail poked out. He aimed at the hand that was bouncing toward him and slammed it down. I'm so cold. I'm right under your feet. Help me. Help. Ah. The girl's hysterical voice was interrupted, and she screamed.
Are you okay? Chen Ge looked at the broken hand. The hand was beautiful. The fingers were slender, and the skin was fair. However, the back of the hand was pierced by a sharp nail, and it was pinned to the ground. Where are you buried? I saw a severed hand just now. Is it yours? Chen Ge loosened his grip. His palm was covered in sweat. Actually, he had been given a fright earlier, but thankfully, he had been prepared.
There was no more cry for help in the forest, only a shrill female voice screaming in pain.
Is it that painful? I've been pricked several times along the way. Chen Ge looked around carefully and slowly retreated. There was a broken hand in the forest, so there might be other things.
The girl's voice became clearer. Chen Ge's ears twitched. He had the talent of ghost ear, and his hearing was far better than a normal person's. He could hear the whispers of ghosts, and this talent seemed to be working.
It's on my left. Chen Ge reached into his pocket and took out another nail. He had to make sure that he had one in his hand at all times.
The arm that was pinned to the ground was still bouncing up and down. The girl seemed to be angered, and her voice started to change.
Chen Ge moved to the left, and he stepped on something. It was very soft.
Not good. When the bad thought appeared in his mind, Chen Ge's body reacted at the same time. He retreated, but a force pulled on his calf, stopping him from leaving. Didn't you want to save me? Why are you leaving? I'm going to be buried here, in the soil that you've stepped on. Quote. The pain and resentment made the girl's voice very unpleasant. Chen Ge ignored the girl and looked down.
His calf was grabbed by another severed hand. To make matters worse, there was something wrong with the soil here. It felt like a quagmire. If one stayed here for too long, one's body would sink.
When he saw the hand, Chen Ge reacted quickly. He grabbed the nail and stabbed it into the back of the hand. The curse in room 413 appeared to have a powerful origin. A single nail could cause damage to a baleful specter. As expected of Lin Cici's room. There might be other treasures hidden in that room. Chen Ge had a new way to use the terrifying curse. The black shadow hiding behind him was also stunned. I sympathize with what you've been through, and I sincerely want to help you, but what are you trying to do? Chen Ge stabbed the nail into the other broken arm and quickly retreated. Didn't you want to save me? My body is buried under this soil. Dig me out and take me away from this place. The girl's voice echoed in his ears. Chen Ge turned back to look. There was a hole under a tree about 3 meters away from him. Inside the dark hole was a terrified woman's head. Her hair was disheveled, and her white eyes were wide open. They stared closely at Chen Ge. Liar. You never wanted to save me. You're all liars. Quote. I did want to save you, that is undeniable. But the key is, why did you grab me so hard? Why did you grab me so hard? When Chen Ge saw the girl's state, he subconsciously reached into his pocket. The girl had died a horrible death, so there might not be enough nails. Chen Ge had a love-hate relationship with these nails that had been pulled out from his body. With each nail, he was one step closer to death. But then again, it was because of these nails that he was able to have a fair conversation with the black shadow and the girl before him. Stop lying to me. That's what that person said back then. But in the end, it was them who turned me into this. Go to hell. All of you, go to hell. Quote. The head was hidden inside the tree hole. The girl kept cursing, and the environment around her changed again. The air seemed to freeze, and the leaves rustled. Soon, strands of hair fell from the gaps between the branches, and something that looked like blood vessels popped up on the ground. It looked very scary. She seems to have become one with the soil after being buried underground for so long. The situation had changed, and it was out of Chen Ge's control. He started to retreat silently. Didn't you say you wanted to save me?
Why are you leaving? Do you think I'm ugly now? Didn't you say you would like me no matter what I turned into? Now that you've turned me into this, why are you running away? Come down and accompany me, I'm so cold here alone, come on, I miss you. The woman screamed like a madwoman. She seemed to mistake Chen Ge for Yuan Main, and the face inside the tree hole was completely twisted. She must be in so much pain now, but I can't communicate with her at all. Never mind. I should figure out a way to help her completely forget this painful memory. Chen Ge turned to look at his shadow. As long as the spirit remains, she will be in pain forever. We cannot ignore this. The head inside the tree hole should be her real body. Can you control her? The shadow did not expect the situation to deteriorate so much in just a few seconds. He looked at the two arms that were pinned to the ground, and he could not understand how Chen Ge was going to save this girl.
Brother, don't just ignore me. As long as you can control that head, we still have a chance. Quote. Hearing what Chen Ge said, the shadow shook his head madly. He was afraid. Even though the female ghost was not a red specter, she was not someone to be trifled with.
You have to have confidence in yourself. No matter what happens, you have to believe in yourself. This is the power that comes from the deepest part of your heart. The shadow was a weak person, and he had been through many unhappy things in his life. Chen Ge yelled loudly, trying to help the shadow. I am your scapegoat. Why would I harm you? This female ghost is the first obstacle that we have encountered. Once we overcome her, our future will be smoother and smoother.
Chen Ge spoke very fast, and he finally managed to convince the shadow.
The thin shadow appeared behind Chen Ge. His body swayed with the night breeze, and it looked like he would scatter at any moment. Don't be afraid. Don't hesitate. Think about your past. You cannot allow the tragedy to repeat itself. You cannot become that kind of person again. The shadow slowly elongated. With Chen Ge's encouragement, the shadow grew twice its size. His hands turned into claws, and the resentment around him intensified. Yes, anger, despair, and pain are your power. Go. The one before you is not an enemy but a sweet fruit. Let her become a part of you, carry her spirit. That will not only save her, but it will also help you. Chen Ge's voice was low and hoarse like a demon's groan. Chen Ge's voice seemed to be imbued with some kind of magic. Words became a weapon sharper than knives. Inside the dark forest, the air was frozen, and it was suffocating. Strands of black hair fell from the crown of the tree, and the veins on the ground were connected together, rising and falling according to a special pattern. The human head in the tree hole also saw the black shadow, and her white eyes flashed with confusion. Do not hesitate. Any hesitation will only waste the time we have to escape. Do you want to kill our hope with your own hands? Holding the nails with both hands, Chen Ge stood behind the shadow. No matter what happens, I will be with you.
The shadow, which was originally one head shorter than Chen Ge, was now almost 3 meters tall. The resentment and anger that had been suppressed in its heart was triggered by Chen Ge. Its hands morphed into claws, and it howled like a beast. The shadow that was pinned to the wall of room 413 had great potential, far beyond Chen Ge's imagination. He became even more curious about the shadow's past. Everyone has hope, but if you want to turn your hope into reality, you can't rely on charity. Instead, you have to bet everything you have. Only by doing your best will you have a chance. Chen Ge pointed at the human head in the tree hole. Our hope lies there. The shadow's body continued to grow. After Chen Ge said that, the face of the shadow cracked open. Black lines appeared on the black body, and then it charged forward. The woman's scream echoed through the forest again. The grass on the ground pierced through the rotting skin, carrying with it an indescribable stench. They tried to stop the shadow. At the same time, the black hair on the canopy curled toward Chen Ge like it had a life of its own. She's attacking both of us at the same time. Thanks to the many times he had been chased by the specters, Chen Ge's body was unusually agile. These were all treasures that he had gained from his life on the line. The girl can influence this whole place. Without killing her, it will be very difficult to leave this place. Even now, Chen Ge did not understand the principle behind the ghost hitting the wall, so he could only solve the problem from the root.
The battle between specters was very intense, and once it started, most of the time, it would only stop when one side's soul was destroyed. After the shadow expanded, it was indeed much stronger than before. However, it lacked fighting experience, and it was not as savage and crazy as Xu Yin, so it was soon stalled. This man has great potential, but he is too weak. Chen Ge knew that once the shadow was killed, he would not be able to survive. The veins on his arms bulged. He picked up the backpack and slammed it into the tree hole. Before the backpack could get close, it was stopped by the hair on of the tree, but that was enough to buy Chen Ge of it. He gripped the nails with both hands and charged toward the tree hole.
Of the nails, the soil is soaked in her blood. If we slow down, we'll definitely die.
Quote. Putting everything on the line, ignoring all the horror before him, Chen Ge's expression was twisted. He looked crazier than the shadow next to him. Soon, you will be, end of Chen of blood. Chen Ge did not even consider retreating, he was extremely fast. The girl sensed a threat from Chen Ge, so she diverted a portion of her power to stop him. The weeds quickly withered, revealing the ground that looked like human skin. If you don't want to save me, then you can be buried here with me. Cracks appeared on the ground, like crisscrossing scars. The temperature plummeted, as if something was crawling out of the cracks. Chen Ge felt pain and numbness in his calf, and his feet gradually lost feeling. What crawled out from the crack seemed to be all kinds of insects. He didn't look. Anything that would affect his judgment, he would temporarily ignore it.
At this moment, he only had eyes for the human head in the tree hole.
I know it's hard for you, but every debt has its debtor. You didn't look for the person who hurt you, but instead you attacked an innocent person like me. Don't you think it's a little too much? Chen Ge's voice was very loud. He was not afraid of exposing his location. The most important thing now was to solve the ghost hits wall and kill this female ghost that he could not communicate with. Even though his legs were slowly losing feeling, he continued to move forward. Stopping Chen Ge took a lot of the ghost's energy. The shadow saw the opportunity to break free and instantly appeared next to the tree hole. The sharp claws reached into the hole. The shadow followed Chen Ge's request to pull out the human head, but when he applied force, the female head screamed. As the head was pulled out, Chen Ge and the shadow realized that there were many veins that looked like the roots of a plant growing out from under the female head. What kind of monster is this? This was the first time that Chen Ge had encountered such a baleful ghost, but he reacted faster than the shadow. Break the veins on her neck, quick. The female ghost's eyes were white, and the veins on her neck were connected to the trees. The ground was slowly collapsing like it was trying to drag the shadow underground. Quick! Break it! Chen Ge screamed. The shadow's situation was not looking good. He had failed to break the veins on the female ghost's neck, and his body was being entangled by more and more veins. What are you hesitating for? The ground sank. Chen Ge did not turn to run but used the last of his energy to lunge at the female ghost's head. He did something crazy. His body rammed into the web of veins. After closing the distance, he stabbed the nail into the female ghost's eye socket. Quick! Only the white of the eye was pierced through, and the female ghost went berserk. The blood web swallowed Chen Ge and the shadow at the same time.
There's no more time. At the moment of life and death, the shadow took the first step of transformation.
His body was illusory, but the two claws were almost tangible. The shadow gathered all his strength and pierced into the female ghost's head. Blood splattered, and a shrill scream echoed in the night sky. The surroundings slowly became clearer. The shadow had gone mad at the last moment. His specter's instinct drove him to do many things that he had not done before. The night breeze blew, and the shadow's body returned to normal. He raised his thin arms, and in his palms was a red heart that had been pulled out from the tree hole. You've done very well. We've crossed the first hurdle. Chen Ge looked at the shadow with a smile. He was lying in the mud, and there were many scratches on his body. Thankfully, his legs had regained the feeling. The worms that crawled out from the ground earlier were not real worms. They were probably the condensation of the female ghost's resentment. Before you consume this heart, I have one last question to ask you. Chen Ge struggled to stand up. Have you experienced this before? How long did you sleep after consuming this thing?
When a specter consumed other specters, they would go into hibernation, and the duration of hibernation depended on their power and the food they consumed.
The shadow had no idea what Chen Ge was talking about. He just wanted to consume the heart in his hand.
Fine, looks like you really don't know anything. But that's fine, I can teach you slowly. Chen Ge smiled. He signaled for the shadow to leave the forest.
The shadow was very weak. He had to stay away from even a half-red specter, much less a red specter. To put it bluntly, he was at the bottom of this school. He was pinned to the wall, unable to move or speak. He was just an inconspicuous stain. Indeed, compared to the whole school, the shadow was like a small stain on a castle. No one would care about him, and no one would have high hopes for him. In fact, that was what he thought himself. We've made too much noise earlier. We need to leave immediately. Chen Ge saw that the shadow was still standing where he was, so he walked forward to remind him.
At that moment, the shadow was like a wolf cub following its parents out on a hunt for the first time. It had the instinct of a beast, but it had not gotten used to the change of role.
Every carnivore will eventually be weaned. If you don't eat meat, you'll be eaten by others. Chen Ge patted the shadow's shoulder. His hand passed through the shadow's body and landed on the shadow's chest. No one is willing to grow up, but you have to understand, you can't be a child anymore. Those words made sense. The shadow's body shivered. He held the heart that looked like a ruby with both hands and swallowed it.
Hey! The shadow lost his mind at that moment. The specter's instinct urged him to swallow the heart.
Oh no! The female specter should be stronger than this shadow. Consuming a specter that is stronger than him will cause him to fall into hibernation. Chen Ge knew that the shadow had a lot of potential and might even have some special talent, but no matter how talented he was, he would not be as talented as Zhang Ya. Even Zhang Ya would fall into hibernation after consuming a red specter, so this shadow would not be an exception. Why are you so impulsive? Chen Ge had just found himself a helper, but the shadow was about to fall into hibernation. This gave him a headache. His original plan was to split the red heart into several parts so that the shadow would not fall into hibernation while he grew. Once he swallowed the heart, the shadow's body doubled in size. He grabbed his head with both hands and pulled at his mouth and face like he was trying to tear his body apart.
Chen Ge could see that the shadow was in great pain, but he did not know how to help him.
Calm down. If you can't suppress her, then accept her power, shoulder her dying wish, and help her complete her last wish, Chen Ge yelled. The shadow finally moved. He squatted down beside the tree hole and reached his hands into the hole like he was digging. Something's not right. Even Zhang Ya will fall into hibernation after consuming a specter of the same level, but this thing can last for so long. Is it because it's special? Or are the specters inside this school different from the outside? The shadow dug around the tree hole for a long time. Finally, it dug out a rusty kitchen knife from inside the tree hole. This is the murder weapon to kill the specter. Red, specter, specter, specter. Normally, a specter's item of possession was related to their obsession when they were alive. The female specter's item of possession was a murder weapon, which meant that her obsession was revenge. The shadow's body doubled in size. He gripped the cleaver and stood before Chen Ge. His twisted arms moved up and down like he was gesturing something. Several seconds later, the shadow crawled into Chen Ge's shadow, and the cleaver fell before him. He wants me to help him investigate the killer? Chen Ge grimaced and picked up the cleaver. He was in the same boat as the shadow, so he would help if he could. It's rare to see a scapegoat like me. The cleaver was covered in rust and dirt, but holding it in his hand, Chen Ge could feel the weight of the cleaver. Is it because the specter has been attached to it for so long? Did this kitchen knife change too? Quote. Hiding the cleaver inside his uniform, Chen Ge inspected the crime scene again. The signs of a fight in the forest were too obvious to be hidden, so Chen Ge decided to go with the plan. He purposely left behind a few fake clues to mislead others. I've wasted too much time in the forest. It's time to leave. Every corner of this school could be dangerous. The only thing Chen Ge could do now was to trust the shadow and find the place that the shadow had mentioned, the wall.
Turning back to look at the shadow, Chen Ge could feel the increasing chill coming from it. Consuming specters can make one stronger, but this school seems to have its own set of rules. All of them have suppressed their natural instincts. This is too strange. Chen Ge was reminded of his experience in Liwan City. The 3.5-star scenario had many specters, but the reason there were not many cases of specters consuming each other was because each specter had their own room, and their range of activity was limited. This school was completely different from Liwan City. Most of the specters could move freely, and they could go anywhere at the school.
Something that even the ghost fetus clone at the peak of Red Spectre couldn't do has been done by someone at this school. Chen Ge sucked in a cold breath. He was even more certain that there was a greater Red Spectre at this school. Something that is several times scarier than Zhang Ya. How am I supposed to deal with it? Just as the thought of despair appeared, Chen Ge pushed it down. The black phone will not give me a mission that will definitely kill me. There has to be a way. A 3-star scenario was different from a 4-star scenario, and so was a greater Red Spectre. As for what the difference was, Chen Ge had no idea, but his experience in the art room had given him a rough idea of what was going on. The Red Spectres were still following their instincts from when they were alive, but the greater Red Spectres seemed to have started to think about something. For example, the 13 painters in the art room and the 13 elusive blood oil paintings. They all seemed to be talking about something, and this thing was beyond Chen Ge's understanding. Different from the ghost fetus clone who only knows how to kill, the owner of this school should have other ways to deal with it. The ghost fetus had a deep grudge against Chen Ge, and he wished that he could torture Chen Ge to death, but the owner of the school did not have that much of a grudge against Chen Ge. Slow down, the most important thing is to survive. Chen Ge picked up his pace. As he ran, he took out Lin Cici's phone. After keying in the password, Chen Ge finally opened the phone. After the Red Spectre in the lab saw me leave the building, they stopped chasing me. Based on this, even a Red Spectre cannot break the school's rules. Now, the best thing for me to do is to understand the rules at this school and then use them to maximize my chances of survival. Lowering his head to look at the phone, Chen Ge just glanced at the screen when his eyes were attracted, and he could not move them away. The background of Lin Cici's phone was an oil painting. It was a faceless human face. Is this Lin Cici's self-portrait? But why didn't he draw his own face? Chen Ge stared at the face on Lin Cici's phone, and the more he looked at it, the stranger he felt because the face looked quite similar to his own. Is the phone's desktop background constantly changing? Every time I change Lin Cici, the face painting will change? This phone was a treasure trove for Chen Ge, and he had too many things that he needed to understand. Moving his finger, Chen Ge first clicked open the phone's gallery. The camera functions are working, but the original pictures on this phone look so weird. Chen Ge studied it for a long time before he realized the problem. All the pictures on the phone did not have human faces. They were all pictures of landscapes. The pictures of the people that were captured have been deleted. Or the people at this school cannot be captured by the camera at all. Chen Ge bravely used himself as an experiment. He raised the phone to take a picture of himself. The phone was very old, and it did not even have a front camera. The picture it took was very blurry. Chen Ge glanced at it. Initially, he did not pay it much attention, but as he continued to study it, his pupils narrowed. The picture taken with Lin Cici's phone not only showed Chen Ge but also the shadow behind him. The weirdest thing was, in the picture, Chen Ge's shadow was small and pitiful. It was hugging its knees, and its body was curled up in a ball. This phone can capture the shadow of room 413? This phone can capture ghosts? Chen Ge suddenly understood why there were no pictures with human faces in the phone's gallery. All the pictures with human faces should have been deleted, but I wonder if it was Lin Cici or something else that deleted the pictures. The phone had been tampered with, but Chen Ge was still very excited. He also noticed something else worth noting. The shadow in the picture retained his real appearance. In other words, Lin Cici's phone might have the power to see through disguises and reveal the real ghost. With this phone, I can avoid many dangers. Knowing the ghost's real appearance will help me come up with the most targeted plan. Chen Ge felt that his luck had improved after encountering the shadow. He took a few photos of himself. After confirming his speculation, he deleted all the photos and left the phone in its original state. Lin Cece's phone was very shabby. Apart from taking pictures and recording videos, it only had some very basic functions. Chen Ge then opened the phone book. There was only one landline number, and the name was Home. He clicked on the recent call log, which only contained the past 24 hours. It was worth noting that within 24 hours, someone had used Lin Cece's mobile phone to call 2 unknown numbers more than a dozen times. The last call was made just before Chen Ge woke up. With such frequent calls, Lin Cece must have noticed something. He keeps calling these 2 numbers, which means that the owners of these 2 numbers can help him. Chen Ge was now Lin Cece in everyone's eyes. After a moment of consideration, he dialed the first unknown number. After a dozen rings, no one picked up the phone. Why didn't you answer the phone? Chen Ge was getting anxious. The man did not hang up or answer the call. He was just wasting his time. Is the person's phone not with him, or is he also considering whether to answer the phone or not? After another 10 rings, Chen Ge hung up and started to call the second unknown number. The busy tone tortured Chen Ge's nerves. Several seconds later, something that surprised Chen Ge happened. Following a light ring, the second call went through. The person answered the phone but did not speak. Chen Ge listened patiently to the voice on the other end, trying to determine the person's location. Unfortunately, the phone was strangely quiet, like he was in a morgue at midnight. Hello? The phone had limited battery, so Chen Ge did not dare waste it. He spoke first. I know you're listening. First of all, I don't mean any harm. If it's not convenient for you to answer my question now, that's fine. I'll ask the questions, and you just need to make some noise when my guess is wrong. His reply came from the other end of the phone. The person still did not plan to answer. Do you know Lin Cece? Almost as soon as Chen Ge said Lin Cece's name, the call was hung up. Chen Ge did not even have time to react. He hung up. He hung up so decisively after hearing Lin Cece's name. He must be hiding something. Quote. Chen Ge called again, but this time, it only rang once before the person hung up. Should I try sending him a message? Chen Ge thought about it and gave up on the idea. Phone calls were two-way. When he exposed part of his information, he could also get the other person's information, but text messages were one-sided. The more he spoke, the more secrets he would expose. For the sake of caution, Chen Ge temporarily gave up on the idea of sending a message. His finger moved, and he started to dial the landline number in the phone book. When he finished dialing all the numbers, a boy's voice came from the phone. I'm sorry, the number you've dialed is not in service. The name of the number said, Home, but when he got through, he heard that the number was not in service. Chen Ge did not give up. He called a few more times, but the result was the same. Looks like I can't get through to this number. His home is already gone. Chen Ge memorized the 3 numbers and ran out of the forest in the direction that the shadow had pointed. The eerie streetlights cast their light on his body, elongating his shadow. If one looked closer, one would notice that his shadow was wiggling like it was slowly growing. The shadow absorbs the female ghost's heart very quickly, at least 10 times faster than the one outside the door. Is this his talent? Or are the specters at this school different from the one outside the door? The speed at which the shadow absorbed the other specters gave Chen Ge more confidence in his plan, but he was not too excited. With such a fast absorption speed, the school can still maintain its order. This goes to show how powerful the person who made the rules is. Chen Ge had no idea what the school rules were, but consuming other specters was definitely against the rules. When I first woke up, Mr. Bai was taking attendance in the classroom. At the time, my desk mate told me that there were students disappearing one after another at the school. Chen Ge thought about it carefully. The missing students were probably consumed, and after consuming a large number of specters, a specter will fall into hibernation, so how did the killer avoid being discovered? With his eyes widened, Chen Ge suddenly thought of a possibility. Could it be that the killer that the school is looking for is hiding among the missing students? He might be the first student to go missing. Following this line of thought, Chen Ge's eyes glowed. There is a greater red specter at this school, and most of the locals here follow the rules. Only outsiders like me can do whatever they want. If that's the case, could the killer that the school is looking for be Chen Ge, who came here earlier? Assuming the person who pushed open the door inside the sick room was Chen Ge, where did he go after he entered the school? Chen Ge knew nothing about the world behind this door. The experience that he had gained from the 3-star scenario was useless here. But Chen Ge was different. He had studied this door for years and had the left eye that Chang Wenyu had brought out from the school of the afterlife. The eye could see things that normal people could not, and having it was like having a cheat. Chang Wenyu is Changgu's biological sister. Her body has become a scapegoat, but her soul should still be at the school. She probably wouldn't sit by and watch her big brother die. If the difficulty of this mission was divided into difficult, extremely difficult, and hellish difficulty, then Chen Ge was playing the extremely difficult version, and Chen Ge was playing the hellish version. There was nothing at the beginning, and when he opened his eyes, he was faced with a death trap. There was no help, and there was no one he could trust around him. Under these circumstances, Chen Ge had opened up the situation for himself. If only I can meet up with Chen Ge. That way, his help will be equivalent to mine, and we can take care of each other. Even though Changgu's eyesight was not that good, he was a smart person. He was good at hiding his weakness, and he was definitely more powerful than he appeared. When the shadow wakes up, I'll go look for the list of victims and observe Chen Ge from the dark to see how he's doing. Chen Ge would never put all his eggs in one basket. After he found Chen Ge, he planned to cooperate with him from the shadows. If the killer is really Chen Ge, then I can push all the blame onto him and clear my name. When the time comes, the school probably won't expect there to be 2 killers at this school. Chen Ge actually had another plan. To distract the school, 2 killers won't be enough. I need to awaken the instincts of more specters. When the number of murderers increases and the school's rules are broken, I'll have a chance to fish in troubled waters. For now, Chen Ge was just thinking about it. This plan was very difficult to carry out. There might be a greater red specter at the school. Just how scary that kind of monster was, Chen Ge could not even begin to imagine it with his limited imagination. When I awaken the other specters, I can't do it in person. I have to provoke them indirectly. Perfecting his plan step by step in his mind, Chen Ge unknowingly reached the end of the path. In front of him was a wall. The paint on the wall had peeled off, revealing creepers growing all over it. As the night breeze blew, the leaves on the wall swayed slightly, looking like little hands waving. This wall is about 3 meters tall. Without any support, there's no way I can climb over it. Why did the black shadow ask me to come here? The wall was next to the bushes, so Chen Ge wasn't worried about being exposed for the time being. However, his past experience told him that bad things would happen if he stayed in one place for too long. Chen Ge reached his hand out to touch the wall. The leaves of the creepers rubbed against the back of his hand. It was a strange feeling like a child was biting on his hand. This wall looks very normal. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it. Chen Ge did not dare stay where he was. He kept turning back to look at his shadow. The shadow's body was changing every second. He was still in the process of transformation, and there was no sign of him waking up. I'm just a scapegoat, but I'm starting to worry about the original ghost. How ironic. The shadow only told Chen Ge that he needed to go to the wall, but he did not tell him what to do after he reached the wall. There's no blood stain, and there's no chilling presence. This place is just like a normal school's wall at night. The wall looked too normal, so normal that it did not fit in with the night school's environment. Chen Ge took a few more steps forward before he suddenly stopped. He moved away the plants on the wall and pressed his ear to the wall. There's a sound coming from the other side of the wall. It sounds like the voices of students. The distance was too far, so Chen Ge could not hear it clearly. I can hear it from so far away, so there should be many people talking. Chen Ge tried to determine the direction. On the other side of the wall was the western campus of Zhejiang University, which was specially designed for the graduating students. Why is there a wall separating the eastern and western campuses? The eastern campus is scary enough. But is the Western campus scarier than the Eastern campus? Chen Ge leaned against the wall to listen for a while. His body did not feel anything strange. The shadow wants me to go to the Western campus, where the graduating students study. The shadow had no reason to harm him, and Chen Ge trusted the shadow, but it was too difficult for him to climb over the wall. Following the wall, Chen Ge continued to move forward. After walking for several minutes, he saw a small two-story building. The building was not big, and it was built close to the wall. The door was half open like someone had just entered it. When he got closer, he could smell a horrible stench. This stench was different from the stench that Chen Ge had smelled in the lab. It was not a simple smell of decomposition but a mixture of several different smells. After climbing to the top of this building, I should be able to climb over the wall and reach the Western campus. Chen Ge stood outside the building and resisted the stench. He took out Lin Cici's phone. This phone can capture ghosts and monsters. I should try it out. Turning on the phone, Chen Ge realized with surprise that the face on the phone looked more like his own. The painting is moving. Shaking his head, Chen Ge opened the camera function. He raised the phone to scan the building and its surroundings. Everything was normal. The stench inside the building is different from the lab building. It shouldn't be those inverted monsters. Should I go in to take a look? Chen Ge looked around the building. The building's exterior was smooth, and there were no windows on the first floor. The only place that could support one's body was the window on the second floor. There's only one window in this building. There was only one way to climb over the wall, and that was to enter the building, open the window on the second floor, and climb up the wall. There is something invisible inside this school that cannot be seen with yin-yang vision, but Lin Cici's phone should be able to capture it. If she did not capture something that she should not have, all the pictures on her phone would not have been deleted. Chen Ge finally made up his mind. He walked to the front door and pushed it open. The door opened with a shrill sound. Chen Ge walked into the building and saw the ground littered with trash. There was trash, packaging for various medicines, and some bulging black plastic bags that were leaking blood. This building is used to deal with the school's trash? Chen Ge held the phone and did not dare to be careless. Every step he took, he would stop to record with the phone. The school's trash was usually collected at a fixed location and then transported out of the school using a garbage truck. The room that Chen Ge was in should be the trash collection center of Zhejiang University. The whole school's trash was collected here and sorted before being transported out of the school. This building is built between two campuses. Could it be that the two campuses share the same trash collection center? Chen Ge took out his phone and looked around. He noticed many strange things. There were 8 cubicles inside the building, and each cubicle had a wooden sign that had different words written on it. The first cubicle said, waste paper and white paper, brown paper, paper cups, and paper lunchboxes littered the door. The second cubicle said, plastic, and bottles of Coke and mineral water littered the ground. The third cubicle said, metal, and the fourth cubicle said, tin foil. These were all normal, but starting from the fifth cubicle, the content on the wooden sign suddenly became strange. There was only one word written on the wooden sign of the fifth cubicle, human. Even humans are a type of trash. The door of the fifth cubicle was not locked, so Chen Ge pushed the door open lightly. Hiss, inside the narrow cubicle hung many broken humans. Their legs were tied up, and they hung from the ceiling. Their heads were facing downward, and their heads swayed lightly with the wind. Chen Ge sucked in a cold breath. There were at least 20 to 30 humans stuffed inside the small cubicle. These should be mannequins. Raising his phone, Chen Ge snapped a picture of the hanging humans. Other than these people, there was nothing else in the blurry picture. Wiping away the sweat on his palms, Chen Ge raised his hand to touch the hanging humans. The feeling that came from his fingertips did not feel like rubber, and it was completely different from the skin of the dead. If anything, it felt like a living person. It was warm, and the pores were breathing, and the blood was still flowing under the skin. They are very similar to living people, but it feels like they have lost their souls. Taking a step back, Chen Ge looked at the people who were hanging upside down. Their eyes were all closed like they were asleep. I should stay away from them. Chen Ge was about to leave when he suddenly noticed that there was a person at the deepest part of the cubicle. The silhouette of the person was almost identical to the shadow in room 413. He was 1.6 meters tall, thin, and had almost no flesh on his body. He looked like a skeleton with a layer of skin. His body shape is very similar to Black Shadow's. Could it be that the reason Black Shadow asked me to come to this wall has something to do with this person? Chen Ge could not be 100% sure that the person inside the cubicle was the Shadow's body. The space inside the cubicle was narrow, and it was filled with people hanging upside down. He could only get a rough look. Let's ignore him for now. Let's see if I can climb over the wall first. If I can, I'll only need to travel between the east and west campuses.
Chen Ge took a few steps back and looked at the other cubicles.
The sixth cubicle had the words, "Experimental Trash," written on it. The cubicle door was locked, so Chen Ge could not open it. The seventh cubicle had the words, "Non-recyclable trash," written on it. As soon as Chen Ge got closer, he smelled a strong stench that almost suffocated him. This is too pungent. The door of the seventh cubicle was also locked. Chen Ge walked past the door and prepared to go to the last cubicle. However, when he passed the door, a man's voice suddenly came from inside the cubicle.
"Is there someone outside?" Chen Ge froze where he was. He turned his head around stiffly and stared at the door of the seventh cubicle. He did not expect to hear a living person's voice coming from the cubicle that stored non-recyclable trash.
"I hear footsteps. You're outside the door now, right? I'm the administrator of the garbage sorting center. Can you help me open the door? When I came in to move the garbage, the door was hit by something. As a result, I accidentally locked myself in the garbage sorting storage room."
The man's voice sounded normal, but there were many suspicious points in his words.
The door of the cubicle could only be opened from the outside, and there was a steel lock on the door. No matter how hard one knocked against the door, it would not lock oneself inside.
"I know you're outside. Can you help me? The spare key should be on the second floor."
The man was still shouting at the door, but there was no response from Chen Ge. After half a minute, the man appeared to have given up. "Is there no one? I still want to trick him into coming in and then consume him bit by bit. Ha ha ha. The smell inside this room is getting better and better. What do you guys think?"
"He probably hasn't left yet. I'll bet 10 fingers.
"But he has already heard our conversation. He won't come in to save us. Just give up, you ugly, dirty, hateful people."
I'm thinking about whether I should go out from the back door and drag the man inside. He must not know that we can actually run out of the room at any time, right?"
"That is the backup plan that we have left for ourselves. Don't expose yourself just because you're happy."
"But he has already heard our secret. Why don't we just kill him? What do you guys say? If we kill him, we'll still be exposed, you idiots. I've already stuffed so many people's brains into your skulls last time, so how come you're still so dumb?"
Quote. Listening to the heated discussion inside the room, Chen Ge's face blanched. Inside this cubicle that stored non-recyclable trash, there was only one man's voice, but he appeared to be playing many different roles.
He was playing many people like he was suffering from schizophrenia.
However, the difference between this man and schizophrenia patients was that each of his personas was extremely crazy and sick. His way of thinking was completely different from a normal person. The people inside this room have been corrupted by negative emotions. Even in the world behind the blood door, I rarely see such a sick person.
Chen Ge left without hesitation. He glanced at the 8th cubicle.
This cubicle was built at the deepest part of the building. There was no wooden board on the door, and there was no sign. The door was very clean, and it did not look like it was used to store trash.
This is such a scary school. Even the place where trash is sorted is so uncomfortable. Stepping over the black plastic bag that was still leaking blood, Chen Ge raised his phone and came to the second floor. There were some tools stacked on the second floor, and it looked much cleaner than the first floor.
Chen Ge did not stop and headed straight for the only window in the building. The small window faced the night school, and there were many stains on the glass. Standing inside the room, Chen Ge could not even see what was outside the window. The monster inside the 7th cubicle said that he can come out at any time. Whether he's lying or not, I can't stay here any longer. However, I should pay attention to this place. Perhaps it will come in handy in the future.
His hand reached toward the window. Before Chen Ge could push it open, a shrill sound entered his ears. It sounded like someone was using their nails to scratch the glass. For more thrilling fanfiction stories like this, check out my channel Fanfic Audiobook. Dive into epic adventures, mysterious realms, and legendary journeys brought to life through immersive storytelling. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing audiobooks.